Hi everyone. I feel like it's been such a long time since we've had story time. So I'm going to read us a book today, and at the end of the story we're going to do an activity. Now you don't have to do the activity at the same time that I do, but it's something that I think we could definitely talk about. And when you're finished, I want you to share it with me on ClassDojo so I can see. So our story today is going to be Flat Stanley Goes Camping. Flat Stanley Goes Camping, created by Jeff Brown, by Lori Haskins Horan, and pictures by Mackie Pimentuan. Stanley Lambchop lived with his mother, his father, and his brother Arthur. Stanley was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide, and half an inch thick. He'd been flat ever since a bulletin board fell on him. There were lots of good things about being flat. Stanley could put on sunscreen with one swipe. Stanley had the best back float at the pool. Stanley had the loudest belly flop too, but sometimes it was hard being the only flat kid in town. Looks like this kid is laughing at him. That's not nice. You shouldn't laugh at someone for being different. I'm sick of being flat, said Stanley one morning. Flat is lame. Lame, said Mrs. Lambchop. Why, some of the best things in the world are flat. Like the newspaper, said Mr. Lambchop. And fried eggs, and pancakes, and bacon, said Arthur. I guess so, said Stanley. After breakfast, Mr. Lambchop started loading up the car with tents and sleeping bags. What's going on? Asked Arthur. We're going camping, said Mrs. Lambchop. This family needs some fresh air. All right, yelled Arthur. Stanley barely smiled. After a short drive, the Lambchops arrived at the Roaring River campground. Stanley was helpful as usual. He helped carry firewood. Stanley blocked the wind so his mother could start a fire. But Stanley just wasn't himself. He wouldn't even eat any s'mores. Too flat, he muttered. Why don't you two go exploring? Suggested Mr. Lambchop. Good idea, said Mrs. Lambchop. You just don't get lost or fall off a cliff or touch any poison ivy. Have fun, dears. Stanley and Arthur set out. Hey, animal tracks, said Arthur. Let's follow them. The boys followed the tracks along the river, through some trees, and up a steep hill with a cliff on one side. The tracks end here, said Arthur. He peered over the cliff. I wonder what kind of animal made them. Can you guess, boys and girls? What kind of animal do you think made these tracks? Arthur, said Stanley. Arthur turned around. Skunk, he whispered. Let's get out of here. But the boys were trapped. The skunk was on one side. The cliff was on the other. Then the skunk raised its tail. What do we do? Arthur wailed. Mom said, do not fall off a cliff, said Stanley. But she did not say jump. Suddenly, Stanley grabbed Arthur by both hands and jumped. Ah! Arthur screamed. Then Arthur opened his eyes. He wasn't falling, he was sailing. Above him, Stanley's body made the perfect parachute. The boys landed with a gentle plop. That was awesome, said Arthur. Thanks, said Stanley. Now where are we? Arthur and Stanley looked around. All they saw were trees. We're lost, said Arthur. And it's getting dark. Then Stanley spotted something. There's the river, he said. Our campground is on the river. The boys ran to the water's edge. About a mile downstream were 2 cozy lamb chop tents. What can we do? It will be dark before we can walk that far, said Arthur. I know, said Stanley. Stanley got a running start and belly flopped into the river. Splash! Then he flipped over onto his back. Climb on! Wahoo! Cried Arthur. I always wanted to go rafting. Arthur and Stanley made it back to camp, dripping, but safe. Let's keep this to ourselves, said Stanley. I can't believe we got lost and went off a cliff, Arthur said. At least we didn't touch poison ivy. There you are, said Mrs. Lambchop, just in time for supper. That night, Arthur whispered to Stanley from his sleeping bag, You know, if you weren't flat, you couldn't have saved us today. Stanley smiled. Maybe being flat isn't so lame, he said. And the next day, Stanley found out another good thing about being flat. He could put on poison ivy cream in one swipe. The end. After each adventure, Flat Stanley uses his bulletin board to display mementos from his travels, such as photographs or souvenirs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of my souvenirs from my vacations. So we noticed how Flat Stanley and Arthur went parasailing, right? Well, I've been parasailing before, but one of my favorite memories from my vacation is going skydiving. So I drew a picture of me going skydiving. So here's the sun and the water, and that's the land and the beach. When I went skydiving, I did it in Hawaii. So I'm going to show you a picture of me skydiving. This is me, and I'm falling out of the airplane. So I want to see if I can find a picture that's a little bit closer. So this string right here, let's do this one. This is a good one. See, there's a string right here. That's part of our parachute. And this is my instructor who jumped with me. And let's see if we can get one with the parachute open. My hair was going so crazy. There we go. There's the parachute. So here's me, and that's my instructor, and this is our parachute. Our parachute was green. And then here's us coming in for our landing. Touchdown! And that's one of my favorite memories from my vacations. So I want you to draw a picture of something that you've done on a trip before. And how Flat Stanley did a lot of different activities when he went camping. You can just pick one. So maybe you've gone camping and your favorite was eating s'mores at the campsite. Draw a picture of eating s'mores. Or maybe you like to go to the beach and collect seashells. Draw a picture of you collecting seashells. I'm so excited to see the different activities that you do. Take a picture and upload it to ClassDojo so I can see it later today. All right, boys and girls, I'll see you tomorrow.